everyone, and welcome back to In Behalf of Animals. I'm Nicole Arcello. As always, I'm so grateful to have you join me. Today, I'm thrilled to be talking with Kathy Stevens, the founder of Catskill Animal Sanctuary. Kathy has truly changed the vegan world over the past 25 years by creating a sanctuary that's not just about rescue, but also about education and inspiring compassion. Today, we'll explore what it means to lead with love, dive into the real lives and emotions of turkeys, and talk about how we can meet our families with compassion during the holidays, even when they're still participating in the very things we dedicate our lives to stopping. Kathy also shares heartwarming stories about the animals at the sanctuary. I'm so excited for you to hear our conversation. And before we dive in, I want to give you a sneak peek at something really special. We've got a bonus Thanksgiving episode that we will be releasing next week on Thanksgiving Day. We want to welcome you into our lives this holiday, a space where fellow vegans can come to feel supported and celebrate compassion. Patrick and I will be chatting, reflecting, and we'll hear from some incredible vegan animal rights activists as they share what they do on Thanksgiving and how they navigate the day. We'd love for you to spend some of your holiday with us. Subscribe and follow now so you won't miss it. And now, my chat with Kathy Stevens. Hi, Kathy. Welcome to In Behalf of Animals.
Thanks for the invitation, Nicole. Great to be with you.
It's so good to see you, and I'm so grateful and honored to have you here with us today. Catskill Animal Sanctuary has been around. You created this about 25 years ago. Is that right?
Yep.
So for people who don't know Catskill Animal Sanctuary is, I think most people in the world know. Could you just give a brief overview just to kind of let people know what you do
Sure.
and where you are?
Sure. Well, I'm newly retired, but I will always use we. We
Yeah.
are Hudson Valley-based sanctuary for 11 species of farmed animals and a center for the promotion of vegan living. And we have rescued many thousands because we've been around for a long time and have a big property. And worked with as much vigor to help people, good people who love animals, who haven't yet connected the dots between their habits and the suffering of animals, to understand who the animals are. And we've done that through a variety of ways, from children's camps to weekend tours to a program with New York City Public Schools. We had for many years a vibrant cooking program and food samples that we handed out on weekends. So that's who we are. And in the process of those 25 years, I've learned some truths that have changed who I am and that will be with me forever. It's been an honor to do this work.
Catskill is I always call it Catskill, CAS. It's such a beautiful place. It's such a serene, peaceful place. The tagline for CAS is love spoken here. And I've heard you talk about leading with love. And can you share what that means? Because it's so important. I think you were just touching on it a little bit. But what does that mean to you, leading with love?
What it means is to start with the assumption that most of us are good. Most of us are kind. Most of us go about our daily lives with those sort of principles as or characteristics as a foundation. And as I heard you say, listening to one of your earlier podcasts, you said your version of this. None of us is intending to harm. I used to say in my talks, no one wakes up in the morning and says to themselves, I can't wait to torture animals at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's just how we've been taught that we are supposed to eat. So if you start from the understanding that nearly all of us ate animals, that we live in a world that discourages us from thinking about the implications of that choice, and then have everything that you do stem from those truths, then you're not approaching people with anger, not with judgment, not with impatience. And so it it allows people's hearts to stay open and to be more receptive and to feel those wonderful animals. And quite honestly, what we've learned over the years is that they are our very best vegan makers. I can go all over the country, doing presentations or write a book, or, people can um, provide wonderful vegan food. But when a person who's only had experience with dogs and cats, or maybe dogs and cats and a rabbit, or with the animals who live in our homes, and they walk into a field and a cow licks their face
Mm.
over and over and over, or they walk into a turkey barn and a big turkey walks over and settles into their lap and drapes their head over the person's shoulder, giving them a hug because they are so affectionate. That's so often all a person needs to understand.
Mm.
And so there's no need for us vegans,
Mm.
to approach this work with anything or from any place other than a place of love and understanding.
Right. I love that. And that is it just I was like closing my eyes and thinking about a turkey falling
Mm.
asleep in my lap and just
Oh,
that loving and
oh,
animals approach us with love, right? Everything they do. They have this unconditional love for us, I feel like. Um and I'm glad you're talking about turkeys because it's that's one of the big topics that I wanted to have you. We're deep into November and Thanksgiving is a week away. And when I wanted to do an episode about turkeys, I said I have to ask Kathy Stevens if she'll please, please, please be on because I love
yes,
the
yes,
way
yes.
I
Yes,
love the
yes,
way
yes.
you talk about all of the animals that you've interacted with. But can you? I could just I want to just let you go about turkeys, about their true lives, their intelligence, their emotions. So someone who maybe is not vegan, stumbling upon this, can learn a little bit more about that, and maybe our vegan listeners can learn as you were just saying that place of love and to talk about turkeys to their families as well.
Sure. So no specific question. You just want me to launch because I'm
Talk
ready to launch.
I know.
Okay. Oh,
I
wow.
love it. See,
Yeah.
I'm a good
This
host,
will be
Kathy.
fun. Okay. Well, it's interesting that,
It's a treat.
when you go to the store and you pick out your butterball turkey, which most of our turkeys are, they are absolutely nothing like turkeys from history, or or what turkeys are supposed to be, or like modern day wild turkeys. They are have been selectively bred over the years to grow massive breasts, to have white feathers so that when you pluck them, the flesh looks quote unquote cleaner. Um, Wild turkeys can fly. These turkeys can't. They're too heavy. Wild turkeys have exceptional eyesight. These turkeys don't. They've lost a lot of their instincts that they needed in the wild. So, and on the other side, they are the most loving
Mm.
animals. They are profoundly affectionate, and I often say that I think in all the years of working with animals, and my experience with animals preceded that because I grew up as you know, on a thoroughbred breeding and training farm. I've learned the most, I think, from the turkeys.
Mm.
I've learned the most. I mean, we really aren't a species that gets to engage with turkeys other than when those of us who are buying a heritage breed or some other non-butterball breed of turkey goes to a farm and picks out the one that is literally going to be killed for our dinner. We don't have an opportunity to engage with them except at sanctuaries. But any sanctuary, not just CAS, could tell your listeners of stories of their affection, their deep love of music. They will sing along to music. How much they love their children. How they will. We had a turkey. I'll just tell you a few stories. We had
Oh,
a
please.
turkey named Michael, and Michael was actually a girl, named after her rescuer. And Michael became massive quickly, the way they all do because of that selective breeding. They are certainly not supposed to weigh 30, 40, 50 pounds. But Michael, they all do. They're all massive. And they're all in chronic pain because of it. Their health is much like the health of a human who might weigh 4 or 5 or 600 pounds. That kind of weight impacts their respiratory system, their heart, certainly their joints. So, despite being in chronic pain, Michael was such a loving spirit. And that bird loved tour days because she loved being around people, loved it. And she would often like waddle because they're just massive, waddle up to a car door and wait for the visitors to come out. And she would literally accompany us on tours. Just we have so many photos of Michael in the middle of a crowd because that's where she wanted to be. And I can't tell you how many vegans that bird created.
Mm.
We had another bird, Blue, who, whenever we took people into the turkey barn, could not resist a human lap. And it was important to say to people, if you're comfortable, please sit down.
Mm.
Because you want people to have that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget the day when I had a family of 9. They were staying overnight with us. And I took them all into 3 generations into the turkey barn. And Michael chose the lap of a dad. There was dad and granddad and kids there. But the dad, this man probably 45 to 50, and she settled into his lap, and I watched as tears started. Just gonna cry remembering this. Tears started streaming
Mm.
down his face, and we left. And that night, I went over to say hello to this family. They were staying at our homestead, and he told me that immediately after they had that experience, they sat down as a family in the living room and they all decided to go vegan.
Mm. It's
The
so beautiful.
third story
Mm.
is of when another man on someone else's tour had an experience with a turkey, and I was coming down the hill to the main barn and getting out of my car, and we locked eyes. And apparently he just had a moment with
Mm.
a turkey. We locked eyes from a distance of, 40, 50 feet, and he sprinted up to me. This was a younger man, and he grabbed my forearms and he burst into tears and he
Mm.
said, "I get it now.
Mm.
Tell me what to do."
Right.
This, if we knew, there's a reason why the industry doesn't want us
Mm.
to know these animals. They
Right.
obviously don't want us to see the horror that is animal agriculture or the horror that is slaughter, the process of taking a living being who wants her life as much as we want ours
Mm-hmm.
into parts for humans to consume. But even before that, they don't want us to know these animals. Because if we knew that they were as emotional, as individual, as bullhearted as our dogs and cats,
Mm.
we'd have a vegan world.
Right.
We'd have right? Because
Right.
most of us identify as animal lovers, and we don't
Yeah.
think about the fact that what we really mean is that we love our dogs and cats.
Right. Yeah.
So allowing good people, once again,
Mm.
to connect with these precious
Mm.
individuals, um, allows them to figure out on their own that, wait a minute, their choice to eat animals, is not aligned with their most cherished values.
Right.
And that if it's true that they are what
Mm.
these people have just experienced by virtue of coming to a sanctuary, then you know what? That's enough incentive for many of them to make a different choice.
Right. That's just so beautiful to hear that those stories. I think a lot of people think, the term like bird brain or birds are just dumb. And I think a lot of people, and that might be, I don't know if it's something we're taught or if the industry kind of puts that out there or it just helps people with their disconnect. But when they look into their eyes and they really see, that love, and connection, like you're saying, it's just, it's so amazing. Speak to the fact about how birds are left out of the Humane Slaughter Act, and it's horrible
Yes.
and it's horrific, but I think it's really important to get that information out there too. Like you were saying, the industry hides so many things, and,
Yes.
go ahead.
So the Humane Slaughter Act was passed by Congress, going on 100 years ago. I believe
Mhm.
it was 1948. But birds were exempt. So birds, and slaughterhouses are places of absolute horror.
Mhm.
They're, even in spite of the obscenely modest concessions that are made, um, for animals to spare them the most egregious suffering.
Mm.
Um, Birds are exempt from those. And now, what's worse, now keep in mind, I just retired, and so I'm not
Right.
staying absolutely current. So there's a possibility, people should look it up on their own, because there's a possibility that this is not true, but that no longer true, but I strongly suspect that it is true. Um, that there was a movement to increase the line speed. Now that's the speed at which the conveyor moves in a
Mhm.
slaughterhouse, in specifically in poultry facilities.
Mhm.
I hate that term, but
Yes.
that's what they use
Right.
in chicken and turkey
Mm.
facilities. So that means that these workers, these slaughter workers, and talk about an abusive industry for animals and the people who work in it, often because it's the only job they can get.
Right.
Um, these birds are whipping past them, boo, 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 boo.
Mhm.
And they are supposed to be slitting the throat, slitting the throat, slitting the throat, slitting the throat. If they don't, the birds are already in agony because they've been shackled upside down,
Right.
and that massive weight is gravity is pulling them down, and
Mm.
they're supposed to be uh stunned, but if the and they're supposed to be stunned after they're shackled, after their throat is slit. Let me see if I can remember the order of operations here. The stunning, they often miss the
The electrocuted,
slitting of the
yeah,
throat, the slitting of the
oh,
throat.
right.
And so often birds are electrocuted, stunned
Right. Right.
in a horrific, process.
Right.
And then there's also no regulation or almost no regulation
Right.
of transportation.
Right.
So workers are catching the birds and cramming them into crates and
Mhm.
stuffing them. I'm sure people have seen these on the
Mhm.
interstate, stuffing them onto the trucks.
Mhm.
And a huge percentage of the birds have already died in their these horrific warehouses.
Right.
More die during the transportation process or have injuries, broken legs, broken wings, internal hemorrhaging from the rough handling. So there is no,
So much suffering.
well, it's really suffering from birth to death.
Right.
Right? It's
Yeah.
suffering from birth to death.
Right.
Just what we do to them to make them grow so fast is uncomfortable.
Right.
In the warehouses, they're breathing the ammonia from their
Right.
urine and feces. They're moving around in their urine and feces. A lot of them are bald from the ammonia that they're
Mhm.
living in. Their
Right.
eyes burn, their throats burn from the stench. It's
Mhm.
it's it's something that our species does that is uniquely cruel,
Mhm.
it's there, and there's no getting around. I often, people say, "What about humane slaughter?" Or "What
Mhm.
about pasture-raised this?" Or "What about free-range that?"
Right.
And the answer is this: if you say to me, you have two choices. I'm going to kill you. And in the case of turkeys, it's after you're just a few weeks old,
Mm.
right? Just a few months old, but I'm going to kill you. Do you want to live as a free range turkey on a small heritage farm, for example, or do you want to be raised like over 99%, not raised, grown
Mm.
like 99% of our birds are in tight quarters,
Mm.
with no concessions for your comfort and all the horrors of the transportation and slaughter?
Mm.
I'm going to say, I don't want A or B. I want
Right.
C. I want option C.
Mm.
I want to live
Mhm.
and express my unique energy for as long as time, as long as I have, as
Yeah.
long as I have. So the fact that they are exempt from an act that was passed almost 100 years ago,
Mm.
whatever, 1948, however many years ago that is, over 75 years ago, um, is horrifying,
Mm.
utterly horrifying, but it's all horrifying.
Right. Yeah, not that like the Humane Slaughter Act is anything to feel good about.
It's nothing to feel
It's
good.
nothing to feel good about, but the poor chickens, turkeys don't even get that.
No, they suffer more.
Right. It's awful.
It's awful.
It really
It's
is.
awful.
And then we know that turkeys want to lay in the sun and they want to take dust baths and they want to be with their families and they're not with their families in these situations. They
No, and we had a very interesting phenomenon when the difference between this bird that we have engineered
Mm.
to grow so big so quickly that they can't reproduce naturally
Right.
and they can't fly, like two
Mhm.
of the most basic characteristics of
Right.
all beings, all birds.
Mhm.
Um, we've altered them, to that degree, and when it was brought home to us was when I know Brian Shapiro was a guest of yours, Brian Shapiro, state
Mhm.
director of HSUS.
Mhm.
HSUS and I and CAS years ago collaborated on a rescue of turkeys who were being culled. They were being shot,
Mm.
on the grounds of a psychiatric hospital that I vaguely remember was on Staten Island. Could be wrong. Somewhere in New York State.
Mhm.
Um, and we ended up taking in 40 birds who were supposedly hybrids who supposedly couldn't fly more than a couple feet off the ground. So we built to their specifications. The USDA's concern was that these birds not escape and interbreed with wild turkeys. So we built a 10-foot tall fence. I hated it.
Mm.
We called it the penitentiary.
Mm.
They still had their big roomy barn and their big roomy yard. But
Mhm.
Nicole,
Mm.
we brought those birds to CAS, and within 2 hours, most of them were on top of the roof of the barn. They could
Yeah.
fly. They could fly
Yeah.
on top of the barn and roosting in trees all around the sanctuary. So much for that
Right.
idea. But the contrast between
Mm.
these birds who could fly as well as a sparrow flies. I marveled at that because I had never really, when do you encounter wild turkeys? You encounter them scurrying through the woods when you're on a hike,
Mhm.
or hurrying their babies across the road when you're
Mhm.
taking a rural drive. To see these animals 30 feet high, 30 feet up in a tree
Mhm.
was such an eye opener for me when you
Yeah.
contrasted that with the fact that the best an industrial turkey can do is sort of an very, very awkward, painful looking kind of jog.
Yeah. It's awful.
Yeah.
It really is. We have turkeys in our yard just about every day, and they fly up into the trees. And sometimes they fly up into the trees, and I can't see them. I see them fly into the tree, but I
Yeah.
can't find them. They really like camouflage themselves up there. Um, so I mentioned that Thanksgiving is about a week away, and many of us vegans are going to be seeing family, although I suspect maybe not all vegans will be spending time with their family for various reasons. But for those that are and maybe those that are skeptical and they're not going to be with their family, but on the theme of leading with love, and after everything you just said about turkeys, um, how do the people we love, our family, are taking part in the very thing, right? That we're dedicating our lives to stopping. We want to stop animal suffering. People stop eating animals. How can we speak with both love for the animals and love for our families and without emotions and big feelings getting in the way? Do you have advice on that?
Well, I've had lots of practice.
Mhm.
I, I will say that. Um, I have a few thoughts. I think families are so uniquely individual and family
Yeah.
dynamics can be so complicated.
Mhm.
But in general, I think it's helpful to remember that change is hard, that change takes time,
Right.
that almost all of us used to sit down at the Thanksgiving table and eat turkey.
That's right.
And so if you use as an analogous situation, um, the horror that is this current administration,
Mm.
I have plenty of relatives who voted for Trump
Mm.
the first time. Plenty but fewer who voted the second time.
Mm.
And not a single one that supports him now. It took more horror, more news headlines, more
Mhm.
just wretched behavior and decisions for the most conservative to go, "Oh, I cannot abide this any
Right.
longer." Well,
Mm.
similarly,
Yeah.
as with any big life change, because really what we're asking when we sit down we might want there what we really want is there not to be a turkey on the table, but what we want
Right.
more than that is for there never to be an
Mm,
animal or an animal product
right.
on the table. And just as most of us didn't do what that man in the turkey barn did,
Mhm.
most of us don't go vegan in an instant. If we enter a situation and with that expectation or with a smidgen of judgment or impatience, what's
Mhm.
that going to do? It's going to it's first of all, it's going to ruin your holiday.
Right.
It's going to ruin,
Right.
and you're going to be the vegan that no one ever wants to invite,
Right.
right? Uh, and it's not going to serve the greater good.
Yeah.
So I think
Mm,
just going with an understanding that change is hard, that change takes time, and perhaps you know, storytelling about why it matters to you, or stories of your visits to sanctuaries.
mhm.
But I also think it's fine. I really think it's fine. I don't think Thanksgiving is the time
Mm,
to have the conversation.
right.
Thanksgiving is the time to take an unbelievable vegan entree
Mhm.
and have people say, God, this is delicious.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like stuff a pumpkin and put an amazing mushroom gravy over it. It's
Right.
beautiful. It's a centerpiece.
Mhm.
Like, so you
Yeah.
still feel like you have something that's festive in the middle of the table.
Right.
And it's at least as good as the turkey. I mean, meat
Right.
itself, you guys, doesn't have a lot of
Yeah.
taste. It's the
Right.
sauce and the spices.
Mhm.
It's the sauce and the spices and the gravy. So if
Right.
I would say I would be inclined at this late stage
Mm,
to just let go of that expectation and to be prepared not to have the conversation and instead to take your delicious vegan entree.
right.
Not, I mean, tofurkey, yeah, tofurkey tastes good,
Yeah.
but something that feels the equivalent of that big old turkey that everybody wants to see in this middle of the table.
Right. So maybe it's the time for food activism, right? Instead of activism that could turn preachy or, you know, or make everybody uncomfortable. I like that.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't to me, holidays are sacrosanct, and if we are lucky enough to have a family or a friend group that we truly love,
Mhm.
right, then you don't wanna mess with that time.
Right.
I personally I would be happy to be called on the carpet for this, but I personally do not think holidays are when to have to quote unquote "do activism," to take
Right.
our activist stance into the room, other than passively by taking great food
Mhm.
and talking about it if somebody brings it up.
Right.
You're making an obvious statement
Yeah.
by taking a beautiful pumpkin.
Right. Yeah. I love that.
I think, I also think this position has come with time.
Mm.
I didn't always feel this way, but I take a long view now. I take a long view, and um that's where I sit.
Mm.
And I know there are people who will go and they'll have the arguments,
Right.
and I'm not sure what purpose that serves.
Right.
I would encourage people to always be mindful
Mhm.
of the end goal.
Right.
That one turkey already had a horrible life,
Mhm.
already had a horrible death.
Right.
let your damn family eat the turkey. Don't preach now.
Right.
Preach, preach, preach before, preach before, between Thanksgiving and
Right.
Christmas. Right? Not at the Thanksgiving
Right.
table.
Right.
No, look for the opportunity to do something different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there's some people who, I try to talking to a lot of people around this time, and I know it's a really depressing time for a lot of us vegans, like, November, December, it just is because, everything turns to talking about turkey and how many pounds of the,
Oh my
ho
God, Nicole, can I tell you one thing?
Yeah,
I
of
almost
course.
had to walk out. I was at the gym at a
Mm,
body pump class. It's just cardio and weight. It's weight training. It's a
yeah,
group weight training class. And we were doing this, everything is with a bar and weights at the end of the bar. And
yeah,
we were doing this tricep exercise that had us holding the bar behind our head on
yeah,
our shoulders and then lifting.
okay,
Right, so that your
yeah,
arms were parallel to your head,
yeah,
right? And the instructor said, "Keep your arms close to your head, close to your head." She goes, "Think about how we bind the turkey legs. Keep your legs that close, like we bind the turkey legs."
oh
And
my,
then between sets, she stopped and she started having this conversation. I've
mm,
taken body pump for 20 years. I've never had an instructor stop the class
yeah,
and start to have a conversation about some random topic. And we started talking about turkeys and how many people who had already bought their turkey and
oh,
how big and what they almost said
mm,
when she said how many people have already bought their turkey,
mm,
I almost said how many people have bought their alternatives to turkey,
mhm,
but I chose not to, and I
mm,
still don't know. I almost walked out because
mm,
I feel like I'm immune to
mm,
things that people will say, but
right,
for some reason, it was so unnecessary
right,
in that class
yeah,
that it was upsetting to me. I almost walked out. I didn't say anything. I am questioning my decision not to say anything in that moment because, anyway,
yeah.
you're right. All the talk now is
All the
about
talk.
all
And
the talk.
that's and I think we do have to choose our moments too, would
1,000%.
right? So, I think that, but yeah, that's what we're all hearing. We're hearing, our siblings maybe talk about it. I don't have siblings, I'm lucky. And my mom has done a vegan Thanksgiving for the whole this will be my 16th vegan Thanksgiving, so my mom adjusted everything right away for me, so it was good, but I have no
Oh,
siblings.
bless her heart.
So, I have no siblings, so I said, maybe if I did, that she'd be like, "Bring your own crap," but
Yeah.
I'm lucky, and I know a lot of people aren't, and I know that some people get, they get, teased or made fun of, at the table too, um, but I really love everything you said, take the opportunity maybe to let the food do the talking for the
Let the
holiday,
food do the
right?
talking.
Yeah,
But then I think, we're all going to live decades longer. Most
mm,
of your listeners, I'm sure, are going to live decades longer.
yeah,
It's take the long view. I took a very long view with my family
mm,
and am happy that there are now few vegans, a
mm,
few vegetarians, and
mhm,
some who haven't shifted and will never shift. And I love them anyway.
mhm,
It
yeah,
just that's life. But you've got the rest of your lives to
right,
spend with the people you love. And if it is important to you to try to shift them
mhm,
versus trying to using your energy strategically, you
right,
know, is
right,
it more important for you to try to shift your family
mm,
versus trying to influence people who might be more receptive?
right,
That's for you to figure out.
yeah,
But then you've got a lifetime to work on to use your very best skills, whatever they are,
right,
cooking, speaking, whatever they are,
yeah,
to do the greatest good possible with whether with your family and friends or whether out there in
Mhm.
the world in some other capacity.
And then bring your family to a sanctuary.
And then okay,
So
that's a
the
no-brainer.
so the animals could do the work,
Like, that
right?
is a no-brainer. Take your find out figure out wherever you are who,
Mm,
I'll my caveat is there are plenty of not so great sanctuaries out
mm,
there, but there are also plenty
right.
of remarkable ones.
Mhm.
Find a good one. Find one that is known for giving that engaging, non-judgmental tour,
Right,
and you will have, even if it's only that seeds have been planted,
right,
those seeds will stay there,
right.
and you will have the beginning of something very important.
Yeah. If it's a sanctuary modeled like CAS, it's going to be one with education, built in. And then, it's hard for people to not have connection with at least one of those animals. It's not a zoo,
It's
it's
not a zoo. I think what's harder, it's
getting
not a
connection.
zoo at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
I
think
think what
people, and I use that, we know zoos are horrible. I want to make sure I say that. But I think sometimes people think that they're going and they're just going to like look at a horse in that enclosure and look at a cow in that enclosure. But that up close personal
like,
um
go in, sit
connection.
down,
Mhm.
be kissed, be loved on,
Mhm.
have a sheep, burrow. Oh my goodness, we have lap sheep too, but yeah.
Mhm.
Um, One thing that is hard for many sanctuaries in New York is that with the rise of avian flu,
Yes.
which is spread from the poop of and saliva of migrating
Mhm.
birds, many of us, out of an abundance of caution,
Right.
have limited public contact with our
Mm.
birds, and and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking for humans because you don't have that experience that's often truly transformational.
Mhm.
But the
Mhm.
birds, turkeys crave
Mhm.
human attention. They crave it. If they're in a place now, mind you, they're all individuals.
Mhm.
And um, you said at the beginning of our recording, you said something about all animals love us unconditionally.
Mm.
That has not been our experience.
Mm.
Some animals don't.
Right.
You've got Mr. Cranky Pants
Yeah.
every now and then, right? And
Right.
you've got every now and then the one who really is just a loner,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Just like us,
Mhm.
just like us. But for the most part, they love, and it's been so sad that the turkeys in particular, um, can't have that engagement
Yeah.
that they love so much.
Yeah, that is sad.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of and speaking about the avian flu, there's a lot of birds in the factory farm industry, that are being killed because of this, like whole
Oh. Oh, yeah, by
I
the
don't know.
thousand.
Yes, and that's been
Yeah.
happening, and I believe I just saw a headline the other day that that's still happening
Yeah, it's
now.
still happening, and it's still there's been a whole history which, these things don't make the news,
Mm,
um, mainstream news, that's for
right,
sure, but there's been a long, long history of the word is called culling, but it just means
right.
mass slaughter
Mhm,
of all kinds of animals, more frequently birds,
mhm,
often for reasons none other than, a farm needs to downsize,
right.
and so they just gas their birds, or they turn up the heat, or or they macerate them, or even know that there've been times when they've just been thrown by the thousands into dumpsters and
Yeah,
crushed. It's just what we do in a world
right,
where humans, too many of us, act like we're the only ones who matter,
right.
with horrifying consequences
Mhm.
for every other species. I'm actually working on a children's book that I started years and years and years ago. Older kids.
Yeah.
Um, and the book is set at the sanctuary, but it's fiction, unlike the
Yeah.
other books. It's
Yeah.
fiction, and it tells the story of an 11-year-old girl, maybe 9, I can't decide how old she is yet, but, um, who goes into the barn one night and finds her favorite little piglet, uh,
Oh.
shivering, and so she goes into the hay room,
Mhm.
uh, to get the warmest bale of straw, which happens to be, in order to advance the plot,
Mm.
all the way at the top. I call it Hay
Oh.
Mountain, which is, bales deep,
Mm.
bales high. So she climbs up, and she falls into a crack between the bales, and she's stuck.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, she hears Rambo's voice. Well, Rambo
Oh.
was a sheep who changed
Mhm.
my life, whose story is told in my first book.
Mhm.
And she hears Rambo speaking to the animals and gathering them together in an effort to save Abby, to save the little girl.
Mm.
And they do. But then she learns their secret. And the secret is that animals can talk,
Oh.
that they always have, that they have from the beginning of time,
Mm.
but they have to guard that secret for from humanity because it would be used against them.
Mhm.
And I don't know what on earth what on earth it has to do with what we were talking about
It's
earlier.
okay. I'm
Oh,
happy to hear about this.
I do know.
Yes.
It's like, how do you I wanna explain
Mm.
in an age-appropriate way.
Mhm.
In this book, I wanna
Yeah.
have the animals telling the little girl what animals endure at
Mhm.
human hands.
Yeah.
And so I have a horse talking about what he went through and a pig talking about how she barely escaped and blah, blah, blah. But it's hard to know how much and when
Mhm.
with children.
Yeah.
You can and even a lot of adults turn away from the
Mhm.
truth.
Mhm.
A lot of adults turn away on tours from the tree t to
Yeah.
from the truth, as no matter how you frame it.
Mhm.
So it's just our job, I think, as activists
Mm.
is to, quote, unquote, "read the room,"
Yeah.
to read the room
Mhm.
and to work hard at
Yeah.
adapting how we say, what we say,
Mhm.
when we say, to whom we say it,
Mhm.
all those things,
Right.
because our job, you know, is to change behavior,
Mm.
and it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
And I think we need to realize that more. I think we get angry and um that's why we have to remember to lead with love because I think that
But
no.
Nicole, can I tell you something? I have never understood
Mm.
why we get I get I don't get angry.
Mm.
I get sad. I
Yeah.
get when I think of the suffering.
Right.
I don't get angry at the people who ate animals because I did.
Right.
Because everybody does.
Almost all
So
of us
I
did,
don't
right? Unless you're born vegan, which there's some coming up now, but I feel like
There are a
yeah,
handful,
there
yes.
are.
We had a young man work for us who had never eaten an egg.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, and he said and I asked him a question, I don't remember what the question was, but I remember
Mm.
his response. He said, "It's just not food."
I love
Like,
that.
he literally
Yeah.
said it's not food. In the same way
Mm.
that, if we went to some foreign country and they were eating dogs,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Oh, your pup just woke
So
up.
oh, he did. He
Yeah. What's his name?
Jake.
Jake, what are you doing, buddy?
He's shaking his ears and doing a little stretch.
Yay!
He'll probably jump up on me now, but he's too big to be on my lap right now. But so what do you think the biggest challenge is right now for the vegan movement, since we're talking about all of that? He almost took my headphones off. The biggest challenge for the vegan movement right now.
I think there are two things,
Mm,
and I think they're related. And I love that you asked that question. I think it's harder to
mm,
get the public's attention
mm,
than it has ever been. And that is in large part, you've got all these things coalescing. You've got the terror of climate change and how so many people's lives are being uprooted. You've got uh, diabolical administration whose behaviors and policies are threatening almost anybody paying attention except the true elites.
mm,
Um, and it's harder to get media to cover us the way they used to. I think
mhm.
that is a
I
huge
agree.
issue,
Mhm,
huge issue. And related to that is the bigger question really of how to get in front of everyone,
mhm.
right? When you don't have media coverage, you can't take people by the millions to sanctuaries.
Right.
People aren't there isn't enough growth in the vegan food market, and for the most part it's still when you go into a grocery store, you've got the section,
Mhm.
the one small area where
Right.
you've got the vegan everything.
Yeah.
It's not like all the foods are interspersed, so when somebody sees hamburger, they
Mm,
also see
right.
not hamburger
Right.
right
Yeah.
next to it.
Yeah.
So or even vegan cheeses. Why aren't they just interspersed
Right.
with so I
They're always
think
separated. Yeah.
the problem is the same as it has always been,
Mhm,
which is if we want, you think about this, and I've always said this is the biggest social movement of all time
mhm.
because you're not asking straight people not to be homophobic. You're not asking white people not to be racist. You're not
Right.
asking and not to be sexist. You're asking every single human being alive,
Right.
everybody,
Mhm.
to change their understanding of animals and who they are, to let in the implications of our choice to eat animals on basically everything wrong with the environment:
Right.
water pollution, air pollution, species extinction, topsoil erosion, all of it, climate change.
Right.
Um, uh, and then you're asking them to change their behavior.
Mm,
So what we're doing isn't moving the needle.
right.
It's moving the needle on the micro level 100,000 million billion percent.
Mm,
But we're not creating vegans by the millions.
right.
And so how do we do that? And what we haven't touched on, because we come from at this from an animal first position, but the equally
Right.
compelling argument for people like my sister,
Mm,
whom I adore, but who would never do this for the animals. She loves her dog, but doesn't go a lot beyond that. Um, how do you help people in addition to the animals,
mm,
right? Understand what's going on with the environment and let in what it's doing
right.
for human health or against human health.
Right.
And so I don't know how to, and I do know there's not enough um, cross pollination. There's
Mm,
not enough conversation between the people who are trying to move the food space and people who are trying to do it from the animal space and people who are trying to do it from an environmental space. There's not nearly enough cross-pollination. So
Right.
when you combine the the fact that it's harder for our stories to be covered because the media is sort of bouncing from one calamity to the next.
Mhm.
And they're not, when they're talking about climate change, nobody backs up and says, well, wait a minute. One of the main reasons we are here
Mm.
is because we are growing billions of animals
Mhm.
and decimating the planet because it takes so much land
Right.
and water and
Yeah.
energy, so many resources
Mhm.
to feed them. Like we're not d I don't know, to answer your question. I don't
Mm.
know how to do that work. I
Yeah.
think so many organizations are doing a great job
Yeah.
on the micro level,
Right.
including yours, including CAS and all the other farm sanctuaries, but and that's important because
Yeah.
on the individual level,
Mm.
that's where change happens,
Mhm.
but you've gotta have big corresponding policy
Mhm.
change,
Right.
and uh, I don't really know how we do that
Yeah.
this day and age.
And I think that I'm sorry. Did you
No, go ahead.
Oh, I think this social justice movement, I think you're right, it is the biggest. But I also think it's different than other because we're not the oppressed. We're fighting for collectively, we're all fighting for the animals or the environment, or personal health. But I'll just take the animal part, since that's what you and I do. We're not the oppressed party, I guess. The animals are.
Right.
So we're, um, you know, out there for them. And I think it does make a difference. And maybe that's why there's not like a unified kind of front. I feel like before COVID, we had more momentum, like 2017, 18, 19. I feel like the movement had a lot of momentum. And I don't
I
know if,
agree. That took the wind out of a lot of things, out of
yeah.
and it surely did. I mean, sanctuaries, so many nonprofits were struggling to survive. So, like,
Mhm.
sanctuaries, for example,
Yeah.
we had to shut down our visitation, we had to shut down our overnight
Mhm.
accommodations, we couldn't go out doing our public speaking. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I do think the momentum shifted, and now, uh, we're still kinda regrouping.
Yeah. And I've heard you speak about sanctuaries, how they're really struggling right now, with donations being low. Most of them are at capacity, where they can't take in any more, rescues. I find that a lot. I think some sanctuaries, they can take in more animals and they do and they can, but I think it's a lot and I think they're kind of struggling. Is that true?
I think it's fair to say, sanctuaries are struggling in many ways.
Mm.
Um, funding has not kept pace at all with the growth
Mhm.
of sanctuaries. There's still new sanctuaries popping up all
Mhm.
over the place, but funding has not certainly not kept pace. The influence of a movement called effective altruism, which dissuaded bigger donors from
Mhm.
giving to sanctuaries, has been pretty dramatic.
Right.
They're all kind, but I also think that sanctuaries are struggling with messaging. I think there's a broad, like, even in the
Mm.
food space, there's a broad
Yeah.
recognition
Mhm.
that what we have been doing isn't working to the extent that we would like it to. I am
Right.
proud that CAS
Mhm.
changes hearts and minds and behavior.
Mhm.
And I know you are proud of the work that Horse Racing Wrongs has done, and, the number of racetracks around the country has diminished dramatically.
Mhm.
But we want change now,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's hard as a sanctuary when you are so immersed. It's incredibly intense work when you're dealing with hundreds of beings and trying to individualize your care in order to maximize their happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you've got emergency and you've got loss and your
Mm-hmm.
major funder passes away, or any of the
Yeah.
stuff that just happens
Mm.
on. It's difficult to step back,
Yeah.
but necessary to step back. We after 25 years
Mm-hmm.
retired,
Mm-hmm.
and two new folks have come in to CAS, and they are doing the very important work of pausing
Yeah.
and having those strategic conversations to say, okay, where are we now? This is who we've been for 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
but where is the movement now? Where's the
Right.
sanctuary now? Where can we, I think one thing that every organization working on behalf of animals needs to ask all the time
Mm.
is, what's our special sauce?
Yeah.
What do we do the very best? And
Mm-hmm.
how do we, in this new climate, with all this noise,
Yeah.
identify those strengths and utilize them to their utmost
Mm.
for the betterment of animals, and not try to have a little discipline, narrow your focus,
Mm-hmm.
do what you do well. So, yeah, it's huge and it's ongoing,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a moment of enormous challenge, but as is true in life, with challenge always comes opportunity.
Right.
So where are those opportunities?
And I something I really love about you, I love so many things about you, but that you seem like you're just oh, Jake just jumped up.
Gee, I know.
That,
Hey, buddy.
um, is you're an optimist. I
I
feel
am.
like you are. You're always I've never seen you not being positive, not without a smile on your face and not with just hope and love, And I think that's wonderful, and I really try to do that every day because I think that we need that. We need it to charge ourselves up. So I have Rambo written down. So if anyone had a question of animal sentience, they just need to listen to one Rambo story. You can tell 10 if you want,
I can tell 10, but I'll
but
tell one.
tell one or however many you want, but please talk about Rambo.
I will tell the one that changed my life.
Okay.
It changed everything for me. It changed
Mhm.
everything, and consequently, it changed Catskill Animal Sanctuary. So Rambo was a stunning Jacob sheep with massive
Mm.
horns. They were at the base of his head. They were probably 4 inches across. And they curled back behind his ears and then kind of crisscrossed in front of his face. They were
Mm.
magnificent. And he was black and white, a Jacob sheep, and he was one of 17 animals rescued the year we opened from a local animal hoarder.
Mm.
17 animals locked in a 12 by 12 stall. One of them was a massive Holstein steer.
Mm.
Uh, there was a dead calf. Sorry, a dead cow,
Mm.
not calf. Um, Decomposing in the stalls. Horror. The woman had had decades of slap on the wrist convictions for
Mm.
hoarding and the accompanying abuse. Took the animals. She would not surrender them, so we couldn't neuter Rambo. He was the only male sheep. There were sheep, goats, and this giant steer named
Mm.
Samson. We couldn't neuter him, which was frustrating because it meant we had to isolate him.
Mm.
So because you can't, on a sanctuary, you can't intentionally create more animals.
Right.
Um, so we had him in a stall, And because at the time, keep in mind, we had just gotten started and we didn't have enough pasture space for one single animal to occupy. So we had him in a stall and he was freaking frustrated. Like we had taken him from a stall and put him back at a stall. Right? And so even though it was bigger and he had more space because there weren't 16 other animals in there, he was frustrated. And so he would come at us with these giant horns and boom, just beat us up. It was awful. One day, we just decided to take a risk and let him be free after, weeks of knowing he didn't have anything contagious and weeks of him being just so frustrated because he was confined. Because we gambled, we'd never seen predators. We gambled that if anybody did venture all the way out of the woods, all the way down this open lane,
Mm.
open, very exposed lane, into the barn, that he would give them a run for their money. But bottom line is we just didn't think it would happen because it's not like there are plenty of woods, but the barn is way away from,
Right.
so the predators themselves would have been very vulnerable coming into that kind of space. So we let him out and we put 2 beds at opposite ends of our very long barn. It's about 150 feet long,
Mm.
a row of 10 stalls on the left, a row of 10 stalls on the right, and a 16 or 20-foot aisle in the middle. Big, fluffy bed. And all that frustration and anger just went away. It just went away. And Rambo started to wander the grounds. And I didn't understand then that he was being a guard sheep. He was looking to make sure everything was okay with all the species. When I did know it was one night in November when I went in to check the animals the way I did every single night, and Rambo was lying on the far bed, so he was probably about at least 100 feet away from me. And I went from stall to stall to stall, and for a reason that I still don't understand, the stall where we had 2 turkeys, this was long before we had built our turkey barn or many of our other barns. We kind of just had this one main barn. The door was open, and the 2 turkeys who stayed in there at night weren't in there. I didn't register that. So I kept checking. This cow was okay. These goats were okay. This horse was okay. I made the U-turn at the end of the barn, walked back to my original spot where I'd entered, and I called, "Good night, animals." Rambo stood up. We had never heard his voice, by the way, before this moment.
Mm.
Rambo stood up. He walked all the way down to me.
Mm.
He looked up, and he went, "Bah." So I said, "Show me what's wrong."
Mm.
Because that was all he could be doing. He was
Right.
trying to tell me something. That animal, who had never known a moment's kindness before he came to us, walked 6 stalls down, walked into the empty turkey stall, turned around, and looked at me. He knew the animals were out on a sleeting November night. He figured out a way to tell a human being.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that the human being would help the animals, which made me understand, oh, he knows what we're about.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that blew me away was that he cared.
Mm-hmm.
He had empathy for 2 little cold birds out in the sleet on a November night, having a pretty amazing night.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ran out.
Mm-hmm.
I toweled them off, dried them off, warmed them up, put them in the stall, and then just sat there And that moment, as you can imagine, helped me understand
Mm.
that the limitations that we perceive animals as having is based on a lack in us,
Mhm.
not a lack in them.
Right.
And that moment invited us to pay a different kind of attention to animals.
Mhm.
And once you pay th- that kind of attention, they get it. Like Rambo, that moment changed our relationship because from that moment on, he and I, for the 12 and a half years that he was with us,
Mm.
were a team. He was completely free, a free roaming animal, 24/7, 365 days a year. So when the cows got out at night, Rambo came to my bedroom. Bah, bah. And there are a dozen stories in there in my first book, mostly in
Mhm.
my first book, Where the Blind Horse Sings, which people
Mhm.
can get. But
I'll put everything in the show notes so people can read these fantastic books. I have them all on my bookshelf over here.
oh, he was something. And was he unusually bright? 1,000%.
Mm.
But did that moment teach me and consequently us that they have infinitely more capacity than most of us ever know?
Mhm.
Heck yeah. And it informed every practice that we have at Catskill Animal Sanctuary, including the not always, not always such an efficient practice, the practice of the underfoot family. We have a ridiculous number of free roaming animals, which is fun for them and
That's great.
hilarious and fun for us, but not always practical when a pig, when it's dinner time and a pig is, rooting around at the far end of the sanctuary or what have you.
But that's so fantastic, and that's just it's one of the most wonderful stories, um, that you could tell, and it's I don't know, I'm speechless. I have tears in my eyes, and thank you so much for sharing that and for being here. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Anything you have coming up, or anything CAS has coming up, that you want people to
CAS,
check out?
yes, CAS. Well, I'm doing some interesting work sort of behind the scenes, which we can't yet talk about, but an initiative that people will learn about at some point
Mm.
to grow and strengthen the sanctuary movement. So I'm excited about
Oh,
that.
that's great.
CAS is having our annual December event called
Mhm.
Carols with the Cows. And it's if you most people have not been, of course, it's so fun and
Mhm.
quirky. We have a wonderful communications person named Cameron
Mm.
who has taken some of the most popular Christmas carols and made them about the animals. She's a wonderful
Oh, I
writer.
love that.
It's sweet and funny and endearing. And so people come for their hot chocolate and cookies and,
Oh.
you know, Christmas treats, and then
Mhm.
we go into the fields with the animals to sing their particular carol. It's a great event. I'm
Oh,
gonna
I
be
love
I'm
that.
gonna be there. It'll be fun.
Oh, I love that.
Other than that, it's like they
But
are hunkering down for strategic planning, so it's
right,
not that exciting, but it's
and
critically, critically,
right,
critically important, and I'm so proud of them for doing it.
and this is a great opportunity because you're closed for tours, right, until the spring, I
Yes.
think, right? So this is an
Yeah.
opportunity to see those animals one more time if you could
We're
go.
yes, I mean, we're open for private tours. People
Oh,
can
okay.
always book a private tour, but in
Oh,
terms of public tours that are open on weekends, yeah, we shut down
oh,
for
okay.
the winter.
So year round, you have private tours year round?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
people
good to
can go
know.
online and do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good to know. To sign off, I just wanted to ask you one more question. What is one thing, one action people could do right now for animals?
Give yourself the room to do it your way,
Mm.
but vow to consume fewer of them. If you have listened, I'm sure not everybody on here is vegan,
Mm.
right? Because lots of
Right.
people identify serious animal lovers, but
Mhm.
don't don't connect those dots.
Yeah.
If you have heard and believed, that animals are as individual and as emotional as we are, and that pain and suffering feel no differently to them,
Mm.
then begin that journey. It's an
Mm.
important journey. It's the most you can possibly do. And if that's too daunting, or if you want to do something in addition to that, it's good for the heart. Like I'm gonna soon be volunteering at a shelter in Connecticut, and I just can't, it's good for the heart, and dang, is it good for that little animal who might not otherwise get a pat on the head or get brushed, or
Mhm.
um those are a couple of things. If people are more inclined to pick up the phone,
Mhm.
find out what bills are stalled in Congress and see, and call your congressman to get a good bill pushed through, or a bad bill from being pushed through.
Right.
There's so many things
Yeah.
that people can do.
Find your space, your comfort zone, and
Do an honest self-assessment.
mm,
We all have gifts.
yes.
What is your most powerful gift? What is it?
Mhm.
Because I can promise you, animals can use it. Name it or say it out loud, and then ask yourself, where and how could I use this in service to animals?
I love that. Thank you so much for taking
You're
the
welcome so
time.
much. Going for a
So
bike
thank you.
ride.
Yay.
Retirement is good.
Thank you so much for being here, so much for having this conversation with me, and for everyone listening, and, I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving,
Thank
and,
you very much. I hope you and all your listeners do too. What's your entree?
my entree I have 3 Gardein roasts,
Oh, yum. Okay.
and,
They're good.
yes, I love those, and, sometimes I make my own roast, but we're focusing on sides, and my mom does this wonderful stuffing that was my dad's family's recipe, and for some weird reason, they always put a hamburger patty in it for years and years, but she
Mm.
took that out years
It's just
ago.
as a not even if I weren't
It's so
vegan, that
weird.
just
I
sounds
know.
weird.
I think that sometimes people used to put sausage in it or something. But anyway, she took that out years and years ago, without him knowing. And then, but anyway, and then, sweet potatoes with like the streusel topping and mashed
Yum.
potatoes.
Yum, yum,
And then
yum.
I make
All that.
all the pies and all that. So,
Yeah,
um, so anyway,
good.
what's your favorite? Got to say, what's your favorite?
One year I
Like,
stuffed a pumpkin and I loved it. And
oh, I
so
love
I
that.
oh my god, with this
Yeah.
amazing
I've seen
cornbread
like butternut
stuffing.
squash and stuffed too. I like
Yes,
that.
but
Yeah.
what I love about the stuffed pumpkin
Mm,
is that you
pretty.
bring it to the table as a whole pumpkin. And so it's big and festive. And then you
Yeah.
slice it the same way you would slice a turkey,
Oh, I
and you
love
pour over
that.
the gravy, so it sort of subliminally
Yeah.
replaces that ritual that's so important to some people,
Yes, I
you know?
know.
Yeah,
They can carve the pumpkin like on
yeah,
Halloween.
and carve the pumpkin. Yeah.
All right. Well,
All
thank you
right,
so
give my
much. You
love to
go.
Patrick, and thank
I
you so
will.
much for having me. It was a pleasure.
I will. You go on that bike ride, and then
I
if you see
will. Hope
any
to see you
animals
at
on the way,
Carol's.
oh yes, I'm gonna see if we can go.
Yeah,
Um,
and people can get their tickets online
yes,
at casanctuary.org.
I will link that in the show notes, and then so people can go right to that. And if you see any animals on the way, give them a few kisses for me, please.
I will be happy to do that, I promise.
Thank you, Kathy.
Bye, Nicole.
Bye. Hey, Nicole here from In Behalf of Animals. We hope you love our show as much as you love animals. And if you do, can you take a quick action to help amplify their voices? Simply follow our podcast and write us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you are listening right now. It helps new listeners discover the show to learn more about how they can join our community and help animals too. Thank you for listening, and remember to be their voice every chance you get.